everybody, and welcome back to the Empathic Leader podcast, where we talk all things empathy, emotional intelligence, and leadership. I am Dr. Melissa, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment so that we can keep this conversation going. Because if the research that I'm seeing now is any indication, we're becoming less empathic as a society in our workplaces with our leaders. And the only way to change this is for us each to change it ourselves. So let's start a movement. Today, I want to readdress an episode that we had that actually people have asked me a lot of questions about. And this is our Flags Everywhere podcast. It comes from a chapter of my book, which, by the way, is out right now, called The Empathic Leader, How EQ via Empathy Transforms Leadership for Better Profit, Productivity, and Innovation. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. You can get a free chapter of the book through my website. So if you want to just check it out and see what it's about, definitely head over there. When we are in this relationship with leaders, it's a relationship just like dating. And a lot of times you'll see these dating sites that will have, red flags, things to be aware of, and beige flags, things maybe you can live with. But today I want to take that one step further as well and start talking about green flags. What are the things that we can see in a leader that should make us go, oh yeah, that's who I want to work for, Because I think these people maybe don't get enough credit. So let's go ahead and dig in and see where we go. Some of these you'll have heard in our other podcast, but we are going to be adding on to it. So stick with me, and we're going to figure out who the fantastic leaders are. We're going to separate out the wheat from the chaff, as my grandma used to say. Flag number 1 is, how does someone take critique, right? So if you have someone who, when you try to talk to them or you try to give them critique, just blows up and they don't want to hear it and they're always right, they could never be wrong, huge red flag, because they're not listening and you can't get through to them. There can't be any kind of connection or understanding, which is what empathy is, if this person is refusing to even build that bridge to allow you to understand them or for them to understand you, why you might be critiquing them in the first place. Now, we all know that not all critique is equal, right? You get critique that's good, that will help you grow, and you get critique that you just kind of go, noted, and you keep moving, right? The point isn't about the critique. The point is about the reaction. A red flag would be that they're just like, no, I can't hear it, don't want to do it. Nope, no way, I could be wrong. I am the leader and we will do it my way because I said this is how we do it. And yes, I've had someone do that to me. They pounded on the desk while they did it. Seen it. Yep. A beige flag would be someone who maybe at first is like, and you feel that resistance, but they're willing to listen. They're willing to try and understand. Why did you give them that critique in the first place? Are you legitimately trying to help them? Is there something maybe they're missing? I know in the past I could be this way. I can still be that way if I'm really close to something that at first I'm like, okay, but I'll make myself listen, because if it's someone who actually genuinely cares and wants to see me do better, they're trying to tell me something that I need to hear. That's a beige flag. A green flag would be someone who not only takes that critique, but then uses it as a growth mindset opportunity. I'm here to learn. I'm here to do better. I know that I can get more out of this. Yes, tell me what you want to tell me. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to change it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to absolutely do what you tell me to do, but I want to hear what you have to say. It's an openness to understanding and communication. So there's a definite green flag way of dealing with that. Flag number 2, how do they use their language, right? Are they someone that buries you in words? I have seen this so many times, right? That they'll talk over the top of you. They don't actually listen to what you're saying. They'll put words in your mouth. That language is a weapon, and it is weaponized, and you have to be careful. So that goes right up there with some pretty dark qualities, like, I never said that. I didn't do that. Well, you're just being too sensitive. Gaslighting phrases. That's another episode. But yeah, I mean, words can be weapons, and That's a definite red flag. If you see someone who does this is someone who's manipulative. And they use their words to manipulate people, and you have to be very careful. Beige flags. Does someone tend to kind of bury you in words, but then they'll back off and they will listen? Like maybe they're just having trouble communicating. Maybe they just can't quite get their point across. Maybe they're going to keep explaining, but it doesn't really get any clearer because they're not connected with you, but they're trying. That's the difference between a red flag and a beige flag. They're trying. They are trying to get through to you. They are trying to understand. They are trying to communicate. Just they're having a hard time. They're probably willing to take some responsibility for the communication breakdown and to use their language better. It's a matter of learning. It's a beige flag. Green flag. Do they actively use their language as a means of creating openness and a way to understand and connect? It's not using language to shut somebody down. It's using language to open the situation up. That's a green flag because that's someone who is listening, which is the greater part of communication, and is willing to be open and understand. Flag number 3. And this one's actually one of my favorites because it actually covers a pretty large section of land. I mean, think about it. This can cover a lot of things. And the flag is, are they generous or miserly? And we're not just talking about money. And in fact, we're rarely talking about money. This isn't just someone who's miserly and they're not willing to give you a raise. Are they miserly with their time? Are they miserly with their warmth? Are they miserly with other resources? Are they unable to give anything unless there's a clear return on investment? I've known people who wouldn't even give you a smile unless there was a clear return on investment, the what's in it for me factor. If they're super miserly to the point that everything has to have a return and there has to be something in it for them, big red flag. Get out, because all you are is what you can do for them. It's transactional. As long as you can do something for them, probably okay. But the second you hit a point where you can't do something for them, you'll just be tossed aside. And it doesn't matter if it's a dating relationship or an office relationship. Beige flag. When people have lived under scarcity for so long where they don't have the resources, they don't have the money, they don't have what they need to be able to get things done, capital, human or otherwise, they can tend to react out of scarcity. And it's not because it's transactional, it's because they're always afraid they're going to run out. But you have to give resources to be able to grow resources, whether that's money or people or anything else. These people you can usually logic with. If you can give them a good reason why these resources need to be put into something, they may be a little more open to it. It's a beige flag because it's not a hard and fast manipulative thing. It's more that they've become what their environment has made them. A green flag is going to be someone who is very generous with their time, with their resources, if they can be. It's a business. We get that. Businesses exist to make money. We get that. But you can be as generous as you can be with what you have to give. I think I've told this story before, but I used to know a CEO that every Friday morning he would have donuts with David. His office was open. His door was open. He was generous, right? Anybody could come in and talk to him, from housekeeping all the way up to whoever, the top board member. You could have a donut. I mean, how much generosity did it take exactly to give up that 1 hour of a week and a box of donuts? But that generosity is what allowed him to connect with his people. And it was a simple, simple thing. But I mean, I remember it decades later. Flag 4. Are they change resistant? You know, I have a background in change management. The way people handle change is a huge indicator of how they handle everything, because the only constant in the universe is change. If they can't handle change, we're all in big trouble. So if you have someone in that leadership position that is either like, nope, no change, we do it this way because this is how we've always done it, and we've always done it like this, that's a big red flag, because it means things aren't going to get better. They're not listening, right? It's a lot like the being buried in language. They're not listening, and that's an issue. Someone who is resistant to change, who's just like, oh man, do we need to do this again? That's more of a beige flag. This could be someone that has change fatigue because they've been pushed to change too many times. This could be somebody who just, has seen change done poorly in their organization. People don't like change. It's hard. And a lot of times in these organizations, we get it thrust upon us, and we feel that people don't understand the change or why we're doing it or how we should be doing it or how maybe we could do it better. But if they understand it's for the better of themselves and for the better of the organization, and they're willing to put in the time and effort in that case, that's a beige flag. They're change resistant, but they're not completely change avoidant. One other red flag, actually, before I let this go, are leaders that are very happy to continually thrust change on their people, but are unwilling to do it themselves. A lot of times the changes that are put in place, like, say, a new employee record system, or a new medical record system, or Workday, things like this, the leaders don't have to actually deal with. They don't actually use it very much. So they're more than happy to put in change after change after change after change without taking perspective taking of what this is doing to their people. And this is a problem. They're not willing to walk the talk. They're happy to make everybody else do it, but they aren't willing. That's a big red flag. A green flag is someone who actually takes the time to understand how these changes are affecting other people by talking to them themselves, by getting their hands dirty, by actually understanding perspectives. We're still not going to like change as a species. Humans don't like change. But there's a way to handle it and a way not to. In change management, we call this having sponsorship support. And it is one of the two things that make it for change to happen, that make change successful. Communication, sponsorship support, the two things that are always missing when change doesn't work, which again, according to the Association of Change Management Professionals, is like 60 to 70% of the time. As a sponsor, as a leader, get your hands dirty, be willing to dig in and actually learn what that change is. That's a huge green flag. Analytics. Red flag. Someone who takes data at face value, doesn't care what it came from, and takes it religiously, like you shouldn't question it, and it doesn't matter where it came from. This is the data. If you are that unquestioning about your data, you're going to be in trouble. At the beginning and the end of data, the beginning and end of tech, at the beginning and end of AI, at the beginning and end of all these things that aren't supposed to make mistakes, there are people. And as long as you have people, you will have mistakes. There's no other way about it. It just is. If you have someone who takes that data religiously, takes those numbers on face value, doesn't care where they came from, doesn't look any deeper, that is a huge red flag, because they're not seeing what's really there. Beige flag would be somebody that understands that the data is not flawless, but maybe doesn't want to take the time to dig any deeper. Maybe doesn't have the time to dig any deeper. Maybe just goes with it because that's what everybody else does, but has an inkling that there are people behind this, right? There are people who decide what data goes into whatever we see and what doesn't. We have people who clean the data. We have people who wrangle the data. Every step of the way, there is an option for mistake. And that's not even if the data itself is flawed. How was it collected? What was it supposed to mean? Who got a hold of it? Is there stuff in there that shouldn't be? Are there outliers in there that shouldn't be? Should there have been outliers included because they actually would have informed us on the data? It is not an infallible thing. A green flag is someone who understands this and digs a little deeper and asks questions. Where did this come from? Who was involved in this process? Can you tell me exactly what these numbers mean? I have someone right now, he's being told his productivity numbers are not up to par. But when he asks where they come from, no one can tell him. So now they're expecting him to fix them, and he doesn't know what to fix because he doesn't know where they came from. Understanding how data is and isn't useful is huge and will tell you a lot about that person. Last but not least, I already have empathy. Red flag. Huge red flag. I already have empathy. I already have emotional intelligence. There's nothing you can teach me. I've taken all of these tests and assessments, and they all say I'm really good at this. They're not listening, and they don't understand that they could change and be better. And that's a problem. Yes, we almost all of us have empathy to some degree. Yes, almost all of us have emotional intelligence to some degree, but you can practice it and you can get better at it. And having it and using it actionably are two different things. Beige flag. Well, I have it, but I don't really know how to make it work at work. I can understand that there's a bit of a gap there. Don't really understand what empathy is, which is okay. Most people don't. Don't really know how I can use emotional intelligence, even though I've been sent to all these leadership trainings. It's okay. Most people can't. They're maybe not using those skills actionably yet, but they understand they could do better. It's probably a question of education. Green flag. Does your leadership actually show understanding and connection? This does not mean that they're perfect. This does not mean that they get it right all the time, but it means that their intent is good and they're trying. They understand that they can do better and that we can all do better together. Huge green flag. Something that actually makes everything else kind of worthwhile. We're going to have more episodes on these flags. I'm going to be giving you more of these because there's lots. There's tons of them. But this is a place to start. And I think remembering that looking for green flags is just as important as looking for the red and the beige ones is something we could all kind of hang on to, right? Because if we're trying to grow a better world, then we should know what we're trying to grow it towards. Dr. Melissa here, the Empathic Leader. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much for joining me today. And for those of you, whether you're leaders of many or leader of one, go out and use your empathy.